Throughout human history, the human body has been a source of fascination, awe, and mystery, long before modern medicine and scientific understanding. People invented explanations, sometimes wild, sometimes chilling, for why bodies behaved as they did. Every cough, fever, or unusual sensation became a puzzle to solve, and myths arose as a way to explain the unknown. Some of these beliefs were practical, rooted in early observations of health and illness. Others were magical or symbolic, reflecting cultural, religious, or social values. People believed that swallowing certain things could alter personality, that the soul resided in specific organs, or that diseases were the punishment of invisible forces. Though we now know these myths to be false, they reveal the imagination and creativity humans have applied to understanding their own bodies. In this script, we will explore some of the strangest and most fascinating myths about the human body. Each section will dive into a different belief, revealing both the cultural context and the intriguing ways people interpreted their anatomy. From ancient superstitions to early medical misconceptions, these myths show the human desire to find meaning in the mysteries of life. Section 1: Blood, Humors, and the Mysterious Balance. One of the most enduring and influential myths about the human body was the idea of the four humors. This belief, originating in ancient Greece and persisting for centuries in Europe, held that the body was governed by four fluids: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. Health was thought to depend on the balance of these humors, while illness was a sign of imbalance. The theory of humors influenced not only medicine, but also personality and behavior. People believed that those with an excess of blood were sanguine, cheerful, and active. An abundance of phlegm made someone phlegmatic, calm but sluggish. Too much black bile led to a melancholic temperament, prone to sadness. Excess yellow bile produced a choleric, hot-tempered disposition. Doctors would attempt to correct imbalances using a variety of methods, many of which seem shocking today. Bloodletting was common, in which leeches or incisions were used to remove what was believed to be excess blood. Purging and induced vomiting were also recommended to restore balance. Even dietary choices were dictated by the humoral theory, with foods classified according to their hot or cold qualities. The underlying myth that internal fluids dictated personality, mood, and health was not just a medical idea, but a philosophical lens through which people understood themselves. The body was not a mere machine. It was a living network of forces, constantly interacting with the environment and the mind. Humoral theory also intersected with astrology. Physicians often advised treatments based on the alignment of the stars and the supposed influence of celestial bodies on bodily fluids. A patient might be prescribed a bloodletting session at a precise hour determined by the moon, blending myth, superstition, and early scientific reasoning. Despite the many inaccuracies, the humor-based worldview shows how humans sought patterns and balance in the body, attributing both physical and emotional experiences to internal causes. Even modern medicine, with its understanding of hormones, neurotransmitters, and blood chemistry, echoes this ancient desire to link body and mind. Interestingly, some remnants of the humoral system survive today in casual language. People still describe themselves as melancholy or choleric, unaware that these words once reflected a deeply held medical belief about fluids inside the body. It is a testament to how myths can persist in culture even after science disproves them. But the humors were only the beginning of the strange beliefs about human physiology. Ancient thinkers also speculated wildly about where the soul resided, why certain injuries caused specific symptoms, and what magical forces might protect or endanger the body. Every organ, from the liver to the heart to the spleen, became a site of speculation. For instance, the heart was often seen as the seat of the soul and emotions. People believed that love, courage, and even moral virtue resided in this single organ. The brain, conversely, was sometimes considered a cooling organ, tasked only with regulating blood and phlegm, while other parts of the body were believed to generate warmth and vitality. This inversion of modern understanding shows how imagination shaped physiology in a way that mixed observation with myth, often creating compelling narratives about human behavior. Even seemingly simple symptoms could inspire bizarre remedies. Sneezing, for example, was believed to expel the soul from the body in some cultures, while in others, a sneeze could indicate that an evil spirit was entering. Warts were sometimes thought to carry contagious magical properties, and cuts or bruises could be interpreted as signs of moral or spiritual imbalance. Ultimately, the belief in humors and other early myths highlights a fundamental human tendency: the desire to explain what we cannot yet see or measure. Before microscopes and modern medical science, myths offered structure, guidance, and even comfort. They allowed people to feel a sense of control over illness, emotion, and fate. In this section, we have explored just one foundational myth, the four humors, and seen how it shaped medicine, personality theory, and culture. As we continue, we will encounter even stranger beliefs, from magical connections between organs and destiny to the curious ways people tried to cure or enhance their bodies. Each myth tells a story about human ingenuity, fear, and wonder. Section 2: The Magic of Organs, Hearts, Livers, and Spleens. In addition to the humors, ancient civilizations imbued the organs of the human body with mystical and symbolic powers. People didn't just see the heart, liver, or spleen as physical entities. They believed these organs could influence personality, destiny, and even morality. Unlike the humoral system, which focused on balance, these myths often combined observation with imagination, producing explanations that seem extraordinary to us today. The heart, unsurprisingly, was the most celebrated organ in myths and folklore. Across cultures, it was widely believed to be the seat of emotion, courage, and even the soul itself. Ancient Egyptians, for example, considered the heart the center of intellect and morality. During mummification, the heart was carefully preserved because it was thought to be weighed in the afterlife, to determine the deceased's righteousness. If the heart was light, the soul would ascend. If heavy, it was devoured by the goddess Ammit. This belief elevated the heart from a mere pump to a cosmic arbiter of morality. In ancient Greece, philosophers like Aristotle also assigned unique properties to organs. While modern science recognizes the brain as the center of thought, Aristotle believed the heart was the seat of intelligence, reasoning, and sensation. The brain was thought to cool the blood and manage physical processes, but it had little to do with emotion or thought. This idea influenced Western medicine for centuries, demonstrating how cultural myths could shape even the most practical knowledge of the human body. The liver, by contrast, was believed to be the origin of vitality and emotion in many cultures. Roman and medieval physicians often regarded the liver as a reservoir of blood and a critical source of life force. In some traditions, courage was linked to the liver. To be lily-livered meant a lack of bravery. In other myths, the liver was thought to harbor anger and rage, suggesting that the organ was more than physical. It was a moral compass guiding personality and temperament. Then there was the spleen, an organ often forgotten today, which in ancient medicine carried enormous symbolic significance. The word spleen became associated with melancholy and irritability. The Greeks believed that black bile, one of the four humors, was stored in the spleen, linking it directly to depression and emotional imbalance. Even in the Renaissance, physicians would palpate the spleen to diagnose emotional disturbances, demonstrating how mythology and observation intertwined in medical practice. Beyond these, some cultures believed the kidneys, lungs, and intestines had almost magical powers. Traditional Chinese medicine, for instance, assigned each organ an element, emotion, and function that extended beyond physical health. The lungs were associated with grief and sadness, the liver with anger, and the kidneys with fear and vitality. Treatments often included not just dietary changes, but also rituals designed to harmonize the emotional and spiritual state of the organs. These myths were not harmless. They influenced behavior, morality, and medicine. People took extraordinary measures to protect their organs, believing that their health or fate depended on it. Amulets shaped like hearts or livers were worn to safeguard specific qualities: love, courage, or vitality. Diets were carefully curated, with the idea that consuming certain foods could strengthen organs or adjust their mystical balance. For example, eating liver was thought to boost courage and vigor, while avoiding bitter herbs could prevent melancholy. Magical and symbolic thinking extended even to surgical practices. Some surgeons in medieval Europe would remove or treat organs not solely for physical health, but in accordance with perceived spiritual and moral effects. Trephination, the practice of drilling holes into the skull, was sometimes performed not just to relieve pressure, but to release evil spirits trapped in the brain, believed to cause madness or epilepsy. Similarly, treatments for weak hearts might involve rituals or potions intended to bolster courage, not just blood flow. What is particularly fascinating is how these organ myths intersected with dreams, superstition, and divination. Some cultures believed that the condition of certain organs could be read through dreams, pulse, or even the color of the tongue. A yellowish tinge could indicate excess yellow bile and a choleric disposition, while pale lips might signify a weak heart. These diagnostic methods, though scientifically flawed, reveal an underlying attempt to connect body and mind, spirit and matter, in ways that were meaningful to the people of the time. Even today, these myths echo in language, literature, and culture. Phrases like heartbroken, liver of steel, or spleenful are linguistic relics of centuries when the body was viewed as a network of mystical and moral forces. Modern science has replaced magical thinking with empirical understanding, but these ancient beliefs remind us that humans have always sought patterns in the body, seeking to explain health, emotion, and personality in tangible ways. By exploring the myths surrounding organs, we gain insight into how imagination shaped medicine, psychology, and spirituality. These beliefs were not merely errors. They were part of a broader attempt to understand the human condition in a world where disease, emotion, and mortality were mysterious and frightening. Each organ became a microcosm of life itself, a place where body, mind, and soul converged in mythic significance. In the next section, we will examine bizarre remedies and protective rituals people employed, from drinking strange concoctions to wearing talismans, all in the hope of preserving the health of their mysterious, myth-laden bodies. Section 3. Bizarre Remedies and Protective Rituals. In ancient and medieval societies, medicine was inseparable from ritual, superstition, and symbolic thinking. When the human body was considered a delicate balance of mystical forces, every ailment, be it physical, emotional, or spiritual, demanded remedies that combined observation, belief, and imagination. People didn't just rely on herbs or surgery. They turned to bizarre rituals, charms, and even magical spells to maintain health, extend life, or ward off disease. One of the most striking examples is the use of animal parts in medicine. Across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, body parts of various animals were believed to carry specific powers that could cure human ailments. The liver of a wolf was thought to impart courage, while powdered bones of a stag could strengthen weak limbs. In some cases, entire rituals revolved around animal symbolism. A hare's foot might be placed under a pillow to protect against night terrors, or powdered vulture bones were ingested as a remedy for madness. These practices were not random. They reflected a symbolic logic that linked animal characteristics to human qualities. Courage, speed, or resilience in the animal was believed to transfer to the human who consumed or carried it. Herbs and plants were equally infused with mystical significance. Mandrake root, for instance, was revered across Europe for its human-like shape and believed magical properties. Legends claimed that when uprooted, the mandrake would emit a deadly scream capable of killing anyone nearby. To harvest it safely, elaborate rituals were followed. People tied dogs to the plant, who would pull it out while the harvester remained at a safe distance. Mandrake was then used as a painkiller, aphrodisiac, or talisman against evil spirits. Similarly, in ancient China, ginseng was not only a medicinal root, but a spiritual connector, believed to harmonize vital energy and strengthen longevity. Water and minerals also held supernatural importance. Holy water, blessed by priests, was often mixed with herbs to create potent cures, reflecting the idea that spiritual purity could be physically curative. In medieval Europe, some remedies involved drinking crushed gemstones or powdered pearls, with the belief that these precious substances carried protective and purifying powers. Would also bathe in waters from sacred springs, hoping the combination of ritual, belief, and mineral content would heal what conventional medicine could not. Rituals extended beyond ingestion to behavioral and ceremonial practices. In some cultures, patients would sleep with a live frog under their bed to draw out fevers, while in others, they might wear a talisman inscribed with sacred words to prevent infection. During the plague in Europe, doctors wore long cloaks and beaked masks stuffed with herbs and spices. While today we recognize this as a primitive form of protective clothing, contemporaries believed that the pungent herbs purified the air and kept evil spirits at bay. The blending of practicality and superstition is a hallmark of these bizarre remedies, showing a world in which science, magic, and technology combined to protective and curative, and ritual were inseparable. Bloodletting and leeching were perhaps the most widely accepted but symbolically charged treatments. By removing blood, physicians believed they could restore balance to the humors, but the procedure was often accompanied by prayer, incantation, or the display of religious symbols. In some cases, the patient's alignment with cosmic or spiritual forces was thought to influence the success of the treatment. Leeches themselves were considered not just medical tools, but mystical agents, capable of drawing away both physical and spiritual impurities. Even sleep and dreams were manipulated for healing purposes. Ancient Greek and Roman physicians often advised patients to sleep in sanctuaries dedicated to gods like Asclepius. Dreams experienced there were interpreted as messages from the divine, providing guidance for cures. The act of dreaming was seen as a liminal space where spiritual, mental, and physical healing converged. Sleep, therefore, became both a treatment and a form of divination, demonstrating the blurred line between medicine and mysticism. People also turned to sound and music as curative tools. The vibrations of certain instruments or the chanting of sacred texts were thought to realign bodily humors and energies. In medieval monasteries, Gregorian chants were sometimes used to calm patients suffering from melancholia or hysteria, demonstrating a belief that sound could influence both mind and body. In other cultures, drumming and tonal chants were employed in ceremonial healing, reinforcing the notion that human health was linked to cosmic harmony. Another striking practice involved personal objects and bodily relics. Hair, nails, and even saliva were considered potent in both causing and curing disease. Some medieval remedies involved binding an ailment to a personal item and burying it, effectively transferring the disease away from the body. Others carried charms or amulets made from parts of saints' relics, believing these holy fragments could protect against illness and misfortune. The combination of physical presence and spiritual energy reinforced the idea that health was a multi-dimensional phenomenon, shaped by both material and immaterial forces. Finally, the interplay of superstition and morality influenced remedies. People often believed that sin, envy, or moral corruption could manifest as disease. Confession, ritual penance, or moral acts were considered therapeutic. For instance, in some cultures, donating to the poor or performing acts of charity was prescribed as a cure for certain illnesses. Here, the physical and moral dimensions of health were intertwined, with the body viewed as a reflection of both spiritual and societal balance. What emerges from these practices is a rich tapestry of human ingenuity and imagination. The bizarre remedies and protective rituals of the past were not simply foolish. They were attempts to make sense of the mysteries of the human body and its vulnerabilities. Each ritual, potion, or charm reflected an effort to bridge the gap between the seen and unseen, the tangible and the spiritual, offering comfort, hope, and a sense of control in a world filled with uncertainty. In the next section, we will explore the myths surrounding disease itself, including the strange and terrifying explanations people created for plagues, fevers, and unexplained sicknesses, revealing the intersection of fear, imagination, and early medical thought. Section 4. Myths surrounding disease. Fears, fantasy, and folk remedies. Long before germ theory, before microscopes revealed the invisible armies of bacteria and viruses, human beings sought explanations for sickness in stories, myths, and supernatural beliefs. Disease was never merely a physical phenomenon. It was a moral, spiritual, and cosmic event, woven into the narrative of daily life. Ancient and medieval societies often attributed illness to divine punishment, angry spirits, celestial alignments, or even the influence of malevolent humans. These beliefs shaped the bizarre, imaginative, and sometimes terrifying ways people tried to prevent or cure ailments. One pervasive myth was that illness was contagious through moral failings or sin. In medieval Europe, leprosy, for example, was as much a spiritual judgment as a physical disease. People believed that those afflicted were marked by God, and their presence could spiritually or physically corrupt others. Lepers were isolated in colonies, their lives dictated by fear and superstition rather than medical necessity. Remedies often included ritual purification, prayer, and pilgrimages, blending the physical act of healing with the spiritual imperative of redemption. Plagues and epidemics inspired some of the most imaginative explanations. During the Black Death, which decimated Europe in the 14th century, many believed that the bubonic plague was the result of astrological alignment, poisonous air, miasma, or divine wrath. Physicians recommended not only herbal remedies and bloodletting, but also elaborate rituals, ringing bells, burning aromatic herbs, and walking in processions to drive away evil spirits. Streets were cleaned with vinegar. People wore charms to ward off the invisible bad air, and entire communities engaged in collective penance, hoping to appease divine forces. The line between superstition and public health was thin, yet these practices offered psychological comfort amid overwhelming fear. Across the world, other cultures personalized disease as a sentient force. In some Native American traditions, illness was thought to be caused by malevolent spirits that had invaded the body. Healing ceremonies involved drumming, chanting, and dancing to coax the spirit out, often accompanied by herbal medicines and symbolic gestures. Similarly, in parts of Asia, sickness was believed to result from imbalances between yin and yang, or disruptions in the flow of qi, the vital energy of life. Remedies combined acupuncture, massage, herbal formulas, and ritualistic practices to restore harmony, blending physical intervention with spiritual alignment. Witchcraft and sorcery often intersected with disease myths. In Europe, people believed that certain individuals, cunning folk, witches, or those who had offended powerful entities, could transmit illness through curses, enchanted objects, or even glances. Protective measures included carrying amulets, performing counterspells, or using elaborate charms. Sometimes, these beliefs led to tragic consequences, including accusations, trials, and executions. Yet within this darkness lies a fascinating truth. Humans instinctively tried to identify cause and effect, seeking patterns even when science had not yet explained the invisible forces at work. Celestial and astrological beliefs were another lens through which disease was understood. Physicians and astrologers observed the stars, believing that certain planetary alignments could trigger outbreaks, influence the severity of illness, or determine susceptibility. Special charts were drawn, and treatments were timed according to moon phases or the position of Jupiter or Saturn. The practice of medical astrology reflects a deep desire to find order and predictability in an unpredictable world, and it shaped medical advice for centuries. Some myths were highly specific and ritualized. In medieval England, people believed that placing a live frog or a cat under a child's bed could absorb fevers. In parts of India, mercury and other metals were used in ritualized forms to protect against poisonous air or evil spirits causing disease. These practices might seem irrational today, but they reveal an extraordinary inventiveness and a willingness to explore both physical and symbolic remedies simultaneously. Animal behavior was often interpreted as a guide to human health. Observing birds, snakes, or insects was thought to provide warnings of impending illness or environmental danger. If a cow refused to eat, it might signal contaminated water. If birds avoided a specific area, people assumed disease was present. Such observations, though framed in myth, sometimes contained kernels of empirical insight, reflecting humans' early attempts to read the natural world as a diagnostic tool. Finally, myths surrounding disease were deeply intertwined with community and social cohesion. Festivals, purges, and collective rituals often coincided with seasonal outbreaks, reinforcing social bonds and shared responsibility. Singing, dancing, and public prayer were not merely symbolic. They provided psychological resilience and practical care networks, ensuring that even in times of extreme uncertainty, people did not face illness entirely alone. In summary, myths about disease reveal a world of imagination, observation, and fear, in which humans tried to make sense of invisible forces that threatened life. These stories, remedies, and rituals were not mere superstition. They were attempts to understand, control, and navigate a perilous environment. The blending of spiritual, moral, and empirical reasoning demonstrates a rich and complex relationship between humans and disease, showing that our ancestors were never passive victims. They were actively engaged in seeking solutions, however strange they may seem to us today. Section 5: Strange Medical Tools and Instruments. The ingenuity and oddity of healing devices. Long before modern hospitals and sterile instruments, the tools of medicine often appeared as bizarre, frightening, or even arcane. The people of the past approached healing with a mixture of observation, superstition, and improvisation, creating instruments that were as imaginative as they were sometimes dangerous. These objects reveal not only the creativity of early physicians, but also the extraordinary lengths humans went to combat disease and injury. One of the most famous and terrifying instruments was the trephine or trepan, used to drill holes into the human skull. Trepanation, practiced for thousands of years across multiple cultures, was believed to release evil spirits, cure headaches, seizures, and mental illness, or balance humors within the body. Archaeological evidence shows that many patients survived these procedures, leaving behind skulls with healed holes, testament to the primitive but surprisingly effective surgical skills of ancient doctors. Yet the very idea of drilling a hole into someone's skull without modern anesthesia or sterilization captures the extreme blend of bravery and desperation in early medicine. Another striking example is the clister syringe, a device used to administer enemas. These elongated, often ornate tools were sometimes made of wood, metal, or even ivory. They were believed to cleanse the body of excess humors, a concept central to ancient and medieval medicine. While today enemas may be routine, in the past, the process could be invasive, uncomfortable, and sometimes dangerous, particularly when coupled with harsh herbal concoctions. The clister syringe exemplifies the principle that early medicine often relied on mechanical manipulation of the body as much as on herbs and potions. Bloodletting, a cornerstone of humoral theory, led to the creation of a range of unusual instruments. Scarificators, small spring-loaded devices, could simultaneously make multiple cuts in the skin to remove blood. They were intricate, almost mechanical in design, and reflect an era when precise engineering met medical belief. The underlying idea was that removing excess blood would restore balance and health. Though often ineffective or harmful, these instruments showcase the intersection of craftsmanship, science, and superstition in the practice of medicine. Early dental tools also appeared particularly strange. Tooth keys, resembling tiny crowbars, were used to extract decayed teeth by twisting and pulling. The process was agonizing, and the instruments were designed to maximize leverage, often resulting in broken jaws or chipped teeth. Yet their existence demonstrates the willingness of early practitioners to innovate under conditions of necessity, even if the methods seem barbaric today. These tools also highlight the deep human concern with pain, aesthetics, and survival, which drove medical invention. Some instruments were designed less for practical effect than for symbolic reassurance. Amulets, charms, and talismans were sometimes incorporated into medical devices to protect the patient from spiritual or magical contamination. A surgeon might tie a charm to a scalpel, believing it would ward off malevolent spirits that could interfere with the healing process. In such cases, the object's function extended beyond the physical. Healing became a holistic act, combining body, mind, and spirit. In obstetrics, instruments such as the obstetrical forceps were revolutionary yet feared. These early designs were long, curved, and heavy, intended to assist in difficult childbirth. The risk of maternal and infant injury was high, but they also saved countless lives, illustrating that even dangerous tools could have a profound impact on survival. Midwives and doctors learned through trial, error, and careful observation, producing instruments that were both practical and, over time, sophisticated. Other instruments were designed for diagnosis rather than treatment. Early stethoscopes, for instance, were nothing like the simple modern devices. Some resembled long, wooden tubes that required the physician to press one end to the chest and the other to their ear. They were awkward, rudimentary, and sometimes decorative, yet they laid the foundation for centuries of auscultation and careful listening to the body's internal rhythms. Even minor remedies employed specialized tools. Herbal grinders, poultice presses, and scent diffusers were used to prepare medicines and administer therapeutic herbs. These devices reveal how intertwined daily life, medicine, and domestic craft were. Healing was not confined to the clinic, but took place in kitchens, gardens, and workshops. The preparation of medicine was a ritual involving precision, repetition, and sometimes superstition to ensure efficacy. It is also fascinating to note that many early instruments anticipated modern medical devices. Catheters, speculums, and syringes existed in rudimentary forms, often constructed from metal, bone, or wood. Their designs were crude yet functional, demonstrating that even in a world dominated by humoral theory, observation and practicality drove innovation. The line between genius and folly was narrow, but experimentation laid the groundwork for the sophisticated tools we take for granted today. Ultimately, strange medical instruments illuminate the human desire to intervene, alleviate suffering, and exert control over the body. Even when methods were extreme, painful, or misguided, they reflect a mindset that combined ingenuity, courage, and imagination. Each tool is a story of human endeavor, revealing not only the limitations of knowledge, but also the enduring quest to understand and heal. In exploring these implements, we glimpse a world where medicine was tactile, mechanical, and ritualized, where faith, observation, and craftsmanship converged in the service of health. The strangeness of these tools is not merely historical curiosity. It is a testament to the human impulse to act, invent, and care, even when answers were elusive and danger ever present. Section 6. Strange beliefs about pain in the body. In centuries past, the understanding of pain, illness, and the human body was a tapestry woven from observation, superstition, philosophy, and trial and error medicine. People often interpreted bodily sensations not as biochemical or neurological events, but as messages from spirits, humors, or divine forces. These interpretations shaped behavior, treatment, and daily life in ways that seem strange to modern eyes. Yet they reveal a deep human desire to make sense of suffering. Pain, in particular, was seen less as a symptom and more as a moral, spiritual, or cosmic signal. A headache might indicate an imbalance of the four humors: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile, which governed temperament and health according to Galenic theory. Ancient physicians believed that each humor had a corresponding quality: hot, cold, wet, or dry, and that illness resulted from their misalignment. Therefore, experiencing pain was often interpreted as a literal warning that the body's elemental balance had been disrupted. Treatments aimed not only to alleviate pain, but to restore harmony through bloodletting, purging, or application of specific herbs. In medieval Europe, pain was also viewed as a divine instrument of moral correction. The Church taught that suffering was a form of penance or a test of faith. People would sometimes endure physical hardships voluntarily, believing that bodily pain could cleanse the soul, avert sin, or curry favor with God. Pilgrimages, fasting, and flagellation were forms of ritualized pain intended to strengthen spiritual resilience. While these practices appear extreme today, they reflect a culture where body and spirit were inseparable, and where pain was simultaneously feared, revered, and utilized as a tool for transformation. Strange beliefs about the location of pain were equally pervasive. For instance, headaches were sometimes treated by placing live frogs or leeches on the scalp, under the notion that the bad humors would transfer from the body into the animal. A toothache might prompt rituals invoking saints, or the recitation of specific prayers, thought to draw disease away from the body or placate supernatural forces. These methods, often performed alongside more mechanical interventions, illustrate a holistic yet peculiar approach to health. One where ritual, empathy, and physical intervention merged. In some cultures, pain was treated as a communicative phenomenon, a dialogue between patient and universe. Ancient Egyptians, for example, believed that each pain corresponded to a spiritual imbalance caused by invisible entities or divine displeasure. Priests and healers would recite incantations, apply amulets, or employ symbolic gestures, believing these actions would convince the body's occupants to release their grip. The combination of tactile and spiritual remedies reflected a worldview in which health was as much metaphysical as physical. The physiological understanding of pain was also linked to temperature, color, and environmental conditions. Physicians might place cold herbs on a fevered body or wrap a limb in heated cloths, interpreting thermal sensation as evidence of the body's internal struggle. Redness, swelling, or bruising could signal an accumulation of excess qualities, requiring extraction through cupping or leaching. Pain itself became a guide to treatment. Sharp or throbbing sensations indicated one type of imbalance, while dull, lingering discomfort suggested another. In essence, patients were read like texts, their bodies offering clues that trained observers attempted to decode. Some beliefs about pain extended into the realm of astrology and cosmic influence. It was thought that the positions of planets and stars at the time of birth or illness could intensify or mitigate physical suffering. Remedies were timed according to lunar phases or planetary alignments in hopes that celestial forces would cooperate with human intervention. While modern science dismisses these practices, they highlight a period when human beings searched for patterns in both body and sky, attempting to understand suffering through the lenses available to them. Pain was also socially and culturally codified. In some regions, stoicism was encouraged, with individuals expected to endure minor injuries or illness without complaint. Conversely, dramatic expressions of discomfort could serve as signals to kin or community members that assistance was required. Pain, therefore, functioned both as an internal experience and a social tool, shaping behavior, expectations, and care networks. Interestingly, early notions of chronic pain reveal a surprising degree of insight. Even without modern neuroscience, healers observed that some pains persisted without visible injury. They experimented with herbal ointments, massage, and changes in diet or activity, hinting at a rudimentary understanding of inflammation, circulation, and musculoskeletal tension. While embedded in mystical frameworks, these efforts show that humans have long sought to identify patterns, test interventions, and relieve suffering, even when the underlying mechanisms were mysterious. Section 7. Curious remedies for common ailments. In the past, the human body was treated as a canvas for creativity, ritual, and imagination when it came to alleviating common ailments. Lacking modern medicine's diagnostic tools and pharmacology, people turned to a combination of herbs, superstition, and sometimes downright bizarre interventions, believing that the right combination of observation, ritual, and touch could restore balance and health. What may seem absurd today often reflects a sophisticated, if mystical, attempt to engage with the mysterious workings of the body. One of the most striking aspects of historical remedies is the reliance on plants and natural elements. Every culture had its pharmacopoeia. Leaves, roots, and flowers were considered potent conveyors of healing properties. Willow bark, for instance, was chewed or brewed into teas to relieve pain and fever, a practice that centuries later would lead to the discovery of aspirin. Yet, alongside scientifically valuable remedies were practices rooted in symbolism or analogical thinking. A healer might apply a poultice of a sheep's lung to treat respiratory issues, believing that like treats like, a concept echoing through humoral theory and sympathetic magic. Animals, too, often featured in therapeutic rituals. In some European traditions, frogs were pressed onto the skin to draw out disease. In parts of Asia, powdered tiger bones were believed to strengthen weak limbs. Such treatments arose from the idea that animal vitality could be transferred to humans, an early, albeit misguided, attempt to manipulate natural forces for healing. Even today, one can sense the imaginative ingenuity behind these interventions, combining observation of the natural world with cultural symbolism. Beyond plants and animals, many remedies were ritualized. Illness was thought to be caused not only by imbalance in the body, but also by spiritual or cosmic interference. To treat headaches, a patient might recite prayers while holding a charm over the affected area, believing that verbal and tactile ritual could redirect malevolent forces. Water, particularly from sacred springs or consecrated wells, was used to bathe or drink in the hope of purifying both body and spirit. The ritual itself, regardless of the chemical or physical effect, often provided comfort, demonstrating an early understanding of the psychosomatic dimension of healing. Common ailments such as colds, fevers, or digestive discomfort were treated with remedies that combined practicality with superstition. Spices, honey, and fermented drinks were often consumed to stimulate the body's defenses, reflecting empirical observation that certain ingredients could reduce inflammation or improve digestion. Yet treatments could also include charming the illness away, invoking saints, or performing symbolic gestures to convince the body to recover. This dual approach of practical observation and mystical interpretation illustrates the holistic perspective through which health was approached. One curious practice involved the use of ointments and salves imbued with symbolic meaning. For example, in medieval Europe, a poultice made from the heart of a hare might be applied to someone with palpitations, based on the belief that the animal's vitality would influence the patient. Similarly, bloodletting was sometimes performed not only for its perceived physiological effect, but also as a ritual cleansing, reflecting an understanding that bodily fluids were intimately connected to overall balance. These practices, while risky, demonstrate an attempt to translate abstract theories into tactile interventions. Diet also played a crucial role in historical medicine. Foods were categorized according to humoral qualities: hot, cold, wet, or dry. An upset stomach could be treated with warm, dry foods, to counteract excessive moisture in the digestive system, while chills might prompt the consumption of hot spices or broths. People believed that the body and its nourishment were intertwined, and that careful selection of food could influence mood, strength, and susceptibility to disease. Today's nutritional science echoes some of these insights, though in a more evidence-based context. Physical manipulation was another widely used approach. Massage, stretching, and early forms of chiropractic adjustment were performed with the belief that mechanical intervention could unblock bodily channels or correct internal imbalances. Even trepanning, the drilling of holes into the skull to relieve pressure or expel evil spirits, reflected a combination of anatomical observation and mystical reasoning. While trepanning would be dangerous by modern standards, it shows the ingenuity and bold experimentation that characterized historical medicine. Perhaps most intriguing are the remedies that attempted to interact with the mind as much as the body. Sleep, music, visualization, and ritual were all used to calm nerves, reduce pain perception, or stimulate recovery. Monks, healers, and shamans recognized that emotional and spiritual states could influence the body's resilience. Techniques such as guided imagery, prayer, or gentle touch helped patients endure pain and fostered an early understanding of what we now call psychosomatic medicine. In reflecting on these practices, it is evident that early healers operated in a space where observation, imagination, and cultural meaning intertwined. Remedies were not purely arbitrary. They were attempts to translate complex patterns of bodily function into accessible, actionable interventions. Even when ineffective or harmful, these treatments show a profound engagement with the human body, demonstrating curiosity, creativity, and care. The strangeness of these remedies today is less a sign of folly than of a society striving to make sense of suffering with the tools available at the time. Ultimately, these curious remedies reveal a truth that resonates even today. Healing is never purely physical. It is emotional, psychological, and cultural as well. Pain, discomfort, and disease were addressed not only through materials and procedures, but also through ritual, narrative, and human connection. In an age without antibiotics or diagnostic imaging, people did the best they could, blending observation, intuition, and symbolic understanding to bring comfort and relief. Section 8. Rituals, Spells, and Superstitions in Healing. Long before the age of laboratory medicine and clinical trials, human beings relied heavily on rituals, spells, and superstition to preserve health and combat disease. The boundaries between magic and medicine were blurred. What we now consider pre-scientific practices were deeply rational within the framework of the cultures that practiced them. These rituals not only sought to cure the body, but also to restore harmony between humans, the divine, and nature. In many ancient societies, illness was often attributed to malevolent spirits, curses, or divine displeasure. A fever might be explained as an evil entity consuming the body's vitality, while digestive issues could signify an imbalance caused by offended ancestors or deities. To counter these forces, healers performed elaborate ceremonies that included chanting, burning incense, or drawing symbolic sigils on the patient's body. Each action carried meaning. The incantation might invoke protection, the incense could purify the surroundings, and the sigils were believed to redirect harmful energies away from the afflicted organ or limb. One of the most fascinating examples comes from medieval Europe, where apotropaic charms, objects imbued with protective power, were widely used. A healer might hang a small pouch filled with herbs, stones, or written prayers around a patient's neck to ward off illness. The herbs were chosen not only for their medicinal properties, but also for their symbolic resonance. Garlic for protection, vervain for purification, and rue for warding off malevolent spirits. The interplay between physical and symbolic qualities reflects a sophisticated understanding of the mind-body connection, where belief itself was considered a critical component of healing. Across cultures, water played a central role in ritualized healing. Sacred springs, rivers, and wells were destinations for pilgrims seeking cures. In ancient Rome, for instance, the waters of certain springs were believed to be infused with divine power. Patients would bathe, drink, or even perform ablutions while reciting prayers or hymns, a practice that combined physiological benefits, such as hydration and temperature regulation, with spiritual and psychological reassurance. Similarly, in India, ritual bathing in the Ganges was thought to purify both the soul and body, an early recognition of the holistic nature of wellness. Rituals were not limited to passive acts. Some traditions involved symbolic surgeries or manipulations designed to remove illness from the body. In parts of Africa and South America, healers performed ceremonies in which they drew invisible lines over the patient's skin, mimicking the extraction of disease. In some cases, herbs, feathers, or even small effigies were pressed onto the patient, transferring the illness into an object that could then be destroyed. These acts may seem mystical, but they reflect a profound understanding of symbolic causality, the notion that tangible, deliberate gestures could influence invisible forces affecting health. Incantations and spoken charms were among the most universal healing tools. In ancient Mesopotamia, Sumerian physicians recited long spells intended to call upon gods, demons, or spirits for protection. Egyptian healers inscribed prayers onto amulets worn over the heart or stomach, believing that the written words themselves carried curative power. This aligns with modern research, suggesting that the ritualized repetition of words and focused attention can activate the brain's stress-reducing mechanisms, showing that some ancient practices may have had measurable physiological effects. The timing and context of rituals were equally important. Lunar phases, seasonal cycles, and even the position of stars were often observed before administering treatments or performing ceremonies. Some illnesses were treated only at certain times of day or under specific astrological conditions, reflecting the belief that cosmic harmony could influence human health. For example, a feverish patient might receive a specific potion only when the moon was waxing, as a full moon was thought to amplify the potency of medicinal herbs. Modern chronobiology echoes this notion, recognizing that biological rhythms significantly affect metabolism, hormone levels, and immune response. Animal symbolism also played a significant role. Practitioners frequently used effigies, feathers, or parts of animals in healing rituals. Birds might be represented to encourage respiratory recovery, while the heart of a sacrificed animal could symbolize strength and vitality. Even today, these practices highlight an early awareness of analogy-based reasoning. The properties of one being could be transferred metaphorically or spiritually to another. While these rituals were not scientifically valid, they illustrate humanity's attempt to bridge the gap between observable natural phenomena and unseen spiritual or psychological forces. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of these ancient rituals is their integration of community and participation. Healing was rarely a solitary endeavor. Family members, neighbors, or entire villages often took part in ceremonies, creating a network of emotional and social support. Singing, dancing, chanting, and even shared fasting rituals were all designed to enhance the patient's recovery through communal energy and shared belief. Modern psychology recognizes that social support and emotional reassurance are critical to healing, suggesting that these ancient rituals may have been more effective than they seemed, not because of magic, but because of the profound human need for connection and care. In retrospect, the rituals, spells, and superstitions used to treat illness reveal a rich tapestry of observation, imagination, and cultural meaning. They reflect societies striving to understand the invisible forces affecting health and demonstrate the lengths to which humans will go to alleviate suffering. While some practices were dangerous or ineffective, many provided comfort, structure, and a sense of agency in an unpredictable world. These rituals remind us that medicine has always been more than chemistry and surgery. It has also been a deeply human endeavor that acknowledges the mind, spirit, and social fabric as essential components of well-being. Section 9. Curious surgical practices and body manipulation. Long before modern anesthesia, antiseptics, and sterile environments, human beings attempted to heal through hands-on interventions that often balanced between ingenuity and sheer audacity. Across the world, ancient surgeons and healers relied on a combination of anatomical observation, trial and error, and ritualistic guidance to address injuries, deformities, and illnesses. These procedures, sometimes painful and crude by today's standards, offer a fascinating glimpse into the origins of surgery and medical experimentation. One of the most remarkable ancient practices is trepanation, the deliberate drilling or scraping of holes into the skull. Evidence of trepanation dates back over 7,000 years, with skulls showing signs of successful healing, suggesting that patients survived the procedure. While the reasons varied, some for medical conditions such as headaches or epilepsy, others to release evil spirits, the procedure demonstrates a profound understanding of the human body's resilience. Remarkably, Some trepan skulls reveal multiple surgeries on the same individual, indicating both trial and ongoing care rather than a one-time, desperate act. In ancient India, texts such as the Sushruta Samhita describe surgical procedures with astonishing detail, including cataract removal, reconstructive surgery, and the use of medicinal plants as anesthetics. Surgeons performed these procedures using sharp instruments, heated oils, and herbal concoctions that minimized pain and infection. The emphasis on precise anatomical knowledge suggests that observation and experience often guided the practice as much as ritual, blending empirical study with traditional beliefs about the body's balance of energies. Egyptian medical papyri reveal an equally sophisticated approach where healers combine topical applications, incisions, and even prosthetics. For example, amputations and wound care were described with careful attention to cleanliness and the use of antiseptic plant extracts such as honey, which we now know has antibacterial properties. These treatments were often accompanied by prayers and incantations, highlighting the dual reliance on physical technique and spiritual reassurance to promote recovery. In medieval Europe, surgical practices often blurred with barbering, giving rise to the term barber surgeon. These practitioners performed tooth extractions, bloodletting, and wound care while also offering haircuts and shaves. Bloodletting, in particular, was based on the humoral theory of medicine, which posited that health depended on the balance of bodily fluids, blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. While we now know this theory was inaccurate, it represented an early attempt to systematize human physiology and provided a structured framework for intervention. Animal analogies frequently guided surgical practices. In some African and South American cultures, the observation of animal behavior influenced techniques for splinting broken limbs or setting dislocated joints. The logic was that the resilience or regenerative abilities of certain animals could inspire human recovery. While these approaches were symbolic, they demonstrate an early use of observational learning and an intuitive grasp of biomechanics. Cupping, leeching, and other forms of blood manipulation also played a central role in body intervention. Ancient physicians believed that the removal of excess or corrupted blood could restore balance and prevent disease. Cupping involved creating suction on the skin, often leaving circular marks to draw out harmful humors. Leeches were applied strategically to areas believed to be overloaded. Though these practices seem unusual today, recent research has identified potential therapeutic effects, such as improving circulation and reducing localized swelling, hinting that some ancient interventions may have had practical physiological benefits despite their mystical rationale. In the Americas, indigenous peoples developed sophisticated orthopedic and dental techniques. For instance, ancient Maya and Inca cultures used splints, braces, and even primitive dentures made from jade or gold to treat injuries or tooth loss. Archaeological evidence shows careful shaping and adjustment, reflecting patient-centered care and ingenuity long before modern dentistry and orthopedics. The psychological component of surgery was also central. Surgeons often accompanied interventions with ritual,
music, and verbal reassurance to calm patients and align their focus with healing intentions. In many cases, the patient's belief in the practitioner's power significantly influenced the outcome. Today, we recognize this as part of the placebo effect, yet ancient cultures were already aware that confidence and calm could enhance recovery. Despite the ingenuity, surgery remained perilous. Infection, blood loss, and post-operative complications often proved fatal. Yet the persistence of these practices across continents highlights humanity's relentless drive to heal, experiment, and understand the body. Each incision, each carefully placed splint, and each trepaned skull reflects a remarkable combination of courage, observation, and spiritual belief. In sum, ancient surgical and body manipulation practices illuminate a fascinating world in which science, observation, ritual, and ingenuity coexisted. Though crude by modern standards, they laid the groundwork for the development of modern medicine and showcase a universal human desire to confront suffering directly, often at great personal risk. Through these practices, we see the beginnings of a journey from mysticism toward empirical understanding, a testament to humanity's enduring curiosity and resilience in the face of disease and injury.
Section 10. The role of herbs and natural remedies in healing. Long before pharmacies, chemical compounds, and modern medicine, humans relied on the earth itself as a pharmacy. Across continents and centuries, people observed the natural world with meticulous attention, discovering that plants, roots, fungi, and minerals often held the power to soothe, heal, or even harm. The study of herbs and natural remedies was not just a practical endeavor. It was deeply intertwined with spiritual beliefs, cultural rituals, and a profound respect for the natural world. In ancient Mesopotamia, cuneiform tablets reveal extensive records of herbal knowledge, describing treatments for ailments ranging from fevers to infections. Physicians would prescribe mixtures of garlic, willow bark, and various seeds, often combined in concoctions or poultices. The use of willow bark is particularly remarkable. It contains salicin, a natural precursor to aspirin. This demonstrates that even thousands of years ago, humans were harnessing compounds with scientifically verifiable medicinal properties, albeit without modern biochemical understanding. Egyptian medical texts, including the famous Ebers Papyrus, detail a staggering array of natural remedies. Aloe vera, honey, myrrh, and various oils were used for wound care, digestion, and skin ailments. Honey, for example, was applied to burns and cuts, not only for its soothing properties, but also because it contains antibacterial enzymes. The Egyptians' combination of ritual, observation, and experimentation created a holistic approach to health, blending physical treatment with spiritual reassurance. In India, Ayurvedic medicine flourished, with an intricate system of herbal therapy. Plants such as turmeric, neem, and ashwagandha were central to treatments aimed at balancing the body's energies, known as doshas. These herbs were believed to influence physical health, mental clarity, and even spiritual well-being. Many of these plants have now been validated for their anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, and adaptogenic properties, proving that ancient wisdom often contained practical truths hidden within spiritual frameworks. Traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, also placed tremendous emphasis on herbal remedies. Texts such as the Shenong Bensao Jing catalog thousands of herbs, minerals, and animal parts, detailing their properties, ideal preparations, and applications. Ginseng, for example, was prized for its restorative energy, while ginger was used to aid digestion and circulation. Chinese herbalists combined careful observation with philosophical ideas, linking health to the balance of yin and yang. The preparation and dosage were critical, highlighting a sophisticated understanding of potency, timing, and synergistic effects. In the Americas, indigenous peoples developed unique herbal traditions long before European contact. The Native Americans, for instance, utilized willow bark, echinacea, and various roots for pain, fevers, and infections. Shamans often conducted healing rituals alongside the administration of these herbs, believing that spiritual energy enhanced the efficacy of natural remedies. Similarly, in South America, the Inca and Amazonian tribes mastered the use of quinine from cinchona bark to combat malaria, demonstrating a keen empirical understanding of plant-based pharmacology. Europe also had a rich tradition of herbal medicine during the Middle Ages. Monks in monasteries meticulously cultivated gardens with medicinal plants, including sage, rosemary, and valerian. They wrote compendiums, such as Hildegard of Bingen's Physica, that described remedies, preparations, and applications for various illnesses. Bloodletting, poultices, and infusions were often paired with these herbs, blending hands-on treatment with the chemical and therapeutic potential of plants. The integration of herbs into daily health practices showcases an early understanding of preventive medicine, long before germ theory or modern hygiene. The psychological dimension of herbal healing cannot be overstated. Many plants were believed to influence not only the body, but also the mind. Chamomile, lavender, and mint were used to calm anxiety, improve sleep, and enhance mental clarity. Patients often experienced genuine benefits through relaxation, expectation, and ritual. Modern science recognizes these effects as partly pharmacological and partly psychosomatic. Yet ancient practitioners understood intuitively that mind and body are deeply interconnected. Preparation techniques were highly specialized. Decoctions, tinctures, infusions, poultices, and oils each extracted different properties from the plants, reflecting a detailed trial and error approach. Certain plants were toxic if mishandled, yet expertly prepared they could heal. This delicate balance shows that ancient herbalists combined observational skill, experimentation, and oral tradition to refine their knowledge over generations. In addition to individual herbs, complex mixtures and formulas were common. Combining multiple plants often enhanced efficacy or counteracted toxicity. These mixtures could be tailored to the patient's age, constitution, and environmental conditions, demonstrating a highly personalized approach to medicine.
that resonates with modern concepts of precision medicine. Through all these practices, it becomes clear that ancient herbalism was far more than superstition. It was a sophisticated system of observation, experimentation, and holistic care. By blending empirical knowledge, spiritual belief, and ritualized preparation, humans created a rich tapestry of natural medicine that continues to influence modern pharmacology. The enduring use of herbs across cultures and millennia reminds us that nature and human ingenuity are deeply intertwined, and that ancient wisdom often contains truths waiting to be rediscovered.
Section 11. Healing through movement and physical therapy. Long before the invention of modern medicine, surgical techniques, or pharmaceutical interventions, humans discovered that the body itself could be a powerful instrument of healing. Across cultures and centuries, people observed that movement, carefully structured, rhythmically performed, or even seemingly playful, could relieve pain, restore balance, and maintain health. This insight led to the earliest forms of what we now call physical therapy, exercise therapy, and rehabilitation practices. From stretching and massage to martial exercises and dance rituals, movement was deeply intertwined with wellness, spirituality, and societal structure. In ancient Greece, physicians such as Hippocrates and Galen emphasized the importance of exercise for maintaining health. Hippocrates, often called the father of medicine, believed that the body's humors, the vital fluids thought to determine health, could be balanced through physical activity. Greek athletes were trained rigorously, not only to excel in sports, but also to maintain optimal bodily function and mental clarity. Gymnasia were cultural hubs where physical fitness was intertwined with philosophy, socialization, and even meditation. Daily routines included stretching, running, wrestling, and weight exercises designed to strengthen muscles, improve circulation, and prevent disease. The Romans adopted and expanded Greek ideas about movement, placing a strong emphasis on military and public health exercises. Roman soldiers engaged in extensive drills, marches, and calisthenics to build endurance, agility, and strength. These routines often doubled as preventive medicine, reducing injury and enhancing resilience. In addition to formal exercise, Romans employed therapeutic massages and hot baths in public thermae, which combined hydrotherapy and manual manipulation to promote healing. This holistic approach illustrates an early understanding that movement, touch, and environmental factors could synergize to maintain health. In India, the practice of yoga emerged as a sophisticated system of physical, mental, and spiritual therapy. Dating back thousands of years, yoga combined postures, asanas, controlled breathing, pranayama, and meditation to maintain the body's flexibility, balance, and energy flow. Ayurvedic practitioners often prescribed specific yoga routines tailored to the patient's constitution or imbalance in the doshas. Beyond physical health, yoga was believed to harmonize the mind and spirit, reinforcing the idea that movement was a conduit for holistic well-being. Certain postures targeted digestion, circulation, or even reproductive health, demonstrating a precise and deliberate understanding of human physiology within a pre-scientific framework. Traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, also emphasized movement-based healing. Practices like Qigong and Tai Chi were developed to cultivate and balance qi, or life energy, within the body. These slow, flowing exercises integrated deep breathing, concentration, and posture to enhance circulation, strengthen muscles, and support organ function. TCM practitioners recognize that blockages in energy flow could manifest as pain, illness, or emotional distress. Through movement and mindful exercise, individuals could restore balance, reduce tension, and cultivate longevity. Modern studies have confirmed that Tai Chi improves flexibility, balance, and mental well-being, revealing that ancient practitioners were keen observers of biomechanics and mind-body connection. In other cultures, dance and ritual movement served both therapeutic and spiritual purposes. Indigenous peoples across Africa, the Americas, and Oceania incorporated rhythmic movement into healing ceremonies. Drumming, chanting, and communal dance were believed to expel disease, align energies, and strengthen communal bonds. In these contexts, movement was inseparable from psychological and social health, illustrating that healing often transcended the physical body. Even today, dance therapy is recognized for its ability to reduce stress, improve motor function, and enhance emotional resilience, showing a continuity of ancient wisdom. Medieval European practices also incorporated movement into treatment, though often alongside herbal remedies, massage, or hydrotherapy. Monks and physicians sometimes prescribed gentle exercises to aid circulation, alleviate joint pain, or rehabilitate injuries. Knights and soldiers practiced horsemanship, swordplay, and physical drills not only for combat, but also to maintain strength, agility, and coordination, demonstrating the therapeutic potential of structured physical exertion. The Renaissance further refined these concepts, with scholars and physicians advocating specific exercises to preserve youth, vitality, and posture. Leonardo da Vinci's anatomical studies revealed a sophisticated understanding of muscle groups, joint function, and biomechanics, which informed the design of movement routines aimed at preventing injury and maintaining optimal function. Even without modern scientific instruments, these practitioners had a remarkably empirical grasp of how the body responded to exercise. Massage therapy, closely linked to movement, was practiced widely across civilizations. Ancient Egyptians, Greeks, Romans, Chinese, and Indians all developed techniques involving rubbing, kneading, and stretching muscles to reduce pain, increase circulation, and stimulate healing. These methods were often combined with oils, herbal preparations, or rituals, reinforcing the belief that physical touch and movement could facilitate recovery and restore balance. The psychological benefits of movement were equally recognized. Ancient texts describe the calming effects of gentle exercise
rhythmic motion, and group activities. In many cultures, the interplay between mind, body, and spirit was central to treatment, and movement was seen as a bridge connecting these realms. Today, research on exercise, mindfulness, and somatic therapy confirms that ancient insights into the mind-body connection were profoundly prescient. Across history, the lessons are clear. Humans discovered that movement is not merely a functional necessity, but a form of medicine. Whether through stretching, martial exercises, dance, or mindful motion, ancient cultures cultivated sophisticated systems to strengthen, heal, and balance the body. These practices remind us that our bodies contain inherent wisdom and that attentive, intentional movement can unlock profound healing potential even in the absence of modern technology. Section 12. The Power of Touch, Early Massage and Manual Therapy. Long before modern medicine gave us sophisticated diagnostic tools or pharmaceutical interventions, humans discovered an intuitive truth. The human body responds profoundly to touch. Across cultures, touch was not just a gesture of comfort or affection, but a therapeutic tool capable of alleviating pain, restoring balance, and promoting healing. Early forms of massage and manual therapy arose from careful observation, experimentation, and centuries of trial and error, long before scientific studies validated their effects. From the sands of ancient Egypt to the temples of India, touch was recognized as a silent yet powerful language of restoration. In ancient Egypt, massage was often intertwined with religious and spiritual practices. Priests and healers used oils infused with herbs such as frankincense, myrrh, and castor to massage muscles, relieve tension, and improve circulation. Tomb paintings depict attendants performing full-body massages, highlighting the importance of manual therapy in daily life and spiritual preparation. The Egyptians believed that maintaining the body's physical health was inseparable from spiritual well-being, and massage was a means to align the body with cosmic harmony. These techniques were remarkably sophisticated, involving kneading, pressing, and stroking, sometimes targeted to specific muscle groups to relieve fatigue or improve mobility. In ancient China, massage was an essential component of traditional Chinese medicine, TCM. Techniques such as Tui Na were developed to manipulate the body's muscles, tendons, and joints to restore the flow of qi, the vital life force. Chinese healers recognized that blockages in energy pathways could lead to pain, illness, or emotional distress. By applying pressure to specific points along the body, they could rebalance the body's internal energies, strengthen immunity, and even alleviate digestive or respiratory issues. The precision of these techniques reflected a profound understanding of anatomy, physiology, and the mind-body connection, despite lacking modern scientific instruments. Indian Ayurveda also embraced the therapeutic power of touch. Abhyanga, a traditional form of Ayurvedic massage, involves full-body oil massages synchronized with rhythmic strokes and gentle pressure. Practitioners believed that massage could detoxify the body, stimulate circulation, and balance the doshas, the essential bioenergies governing physical and mental health. Certain treatments were customized based on age, constitution, or seasonal variations, showing a sophisticated awareness of individualized therapy. The combination of touch, oils, and medicinal herbs demonstrated an early understanding of how sensory stimulation interacts with physiology to promote healing. In ancient Greece, massage was central to athletic training and general health. Greek physicians, including Hippocrates, advocated massage for athletes before and after competitions to prevent injuries, reduce soreness, and improve performance. Gymnasia often included rooms specifically for massage and manual therapy, where attendants trained in anatomy and technique would perform intricate manipulations of muscles and joints. Beyond athletes, Greek citizens used massage to maintain overall well-being, improve circulation, and even support mental clarity. Hippocrates described it as a noble art that could be both preventive and curative, emphasizing its versatility and effectiveness. Roman society inherited Greek massage practices and expanded them. Public baths, or thermae, became centers of socialization and therapeutic care. Citizens would immerse themselves in hot or cold baths, then receive massages to relieve tension, invigorate muscles, and stimulate blood flow. Roman physicians also recognized the benefits of massage for rehabilitation, particularly for soldiers recovering from injuries. Techniques often involved pressing, kneading, stretching, and rubbing muscles, sometimes in combination with herbal ointments, which not only promoted physical healing, but also a sense of mental restoration and relaxation. Across Europe and the Middle East, manual therapy developed further, often intertwined with folk traditions. In medieval times, massage was used to treat ailments ranging from joint stiffness to digestive complaints. Skilled practitioners relied on their understanding of touch, pressure, and rhythm, often guided by centuries of observation. Some methods even anticipated modern physiotherapy, involving targeted manipulation of muscles and joints to restore function. In Japan, shiatsu developed as a therapeutic method, using finger pressure along meridians to balance energy flow, improve circulation, and alleviate pain. Despite cultural differences, the underlying principle was universal. The body responds profoundly to intentional, skillful touch. In addition to its physical effects, touch was recognized for its psychological and emotional benefits. Gentle pressure, repetitive strokes, and nurturing manipulation could calm the nervous system, reduce stress, and foster a sense of safety. In many societies, massage was incorporated into spiritual or religious rituals, emphasizing the connection between body, mind, and spirit. Ancient healers understood that physical touch could influence mood, cognition, and emotional resilience, an insight modern science confirms through studies on massage therapy and somatic psychology. Furthermore, touch was not only restorative, but preventative. In cultures ranging from India to Egypt to Greece, daily massages were prescribed to maintain flexibility, support joint health, and enhance circulation. Infants and children were also massaged to promote healthy growth and early neural development, highlighting an intuitive understanding of developmental physiology. Touch became a tool not only for healing the sick, but for preserving vitality and enhancing quality of life across all ages. Across time and cultures, the power of touch demonstrates that humans have long recognized the body's innate ability to respond to sensory input. Long before modern science, early civilizations discovered that massage, manual therapy, and nurturing touch could relieve pain, restore balance, and promote holistic well-being. Today, as physiotherapy, chiropractic care, and massage therapy continue to thrive, we are reminded that ancient wisdom often anticipated modern understanding, revealing that human hands have always been among the most powerful instruments of healing.
Section 13. The Legacy of Ancient Healing Practices. From ritual to modern therapy. As we conclude our journey through the remarkable history of ancient massage and manual therapy, it becomes clear that the practices of our ancestors were not merely primitive attempts at comfort. They were profound insights into the body's natural capacity for healing. From the oils of Egypt to the precise pressure points of China, from Ayurvedic Abhyanga to Roman thermae, humans across time discovered that touch could harmonize body, mind, and spirit. These ancient practices laid the groundwork for the sophisticated therapeutic techniques we recognize today, bridging the gap between ritual, observation, and modern science. One of the most striking aspects of ancient healing was its holistic approach. Unlike modern medicine, which often isolates specific symptoms or organs, ancient massage and manual therapy emphasized the interconnectedness of the human body. In Egypt, massage was paired with aromatic oils, not just for physical relief, but to prepare the soul for spiritual journeys. In India, the rhythmic strokes of Abhyanga were believed to balance the doshas, affecting emotional and mental states as much as physical health. The Greeks and Romans extended this philosophy to public life, integrating massage into athletic training, rehabilitation, and social wellness. Across cultures, the principle was clear. Healing was not only about mending injury, but about fostering overall harmony within the human system. Modern science has begun to validate many of these ancient intuitions. Studies show that massage therapy can stimulate circulation, reduce muscle tension, and alleviate pain, echoing the observations of Greek gymnasia attendants and Egyptian healers. Research into the physiological effects of touch confirms that gentle manipulation can influence the nervous system, reduce cortisol levels, and even strengthen immunity. This convergence of empirical evidence and ancestral wisdom demonstrates that the body has an intrinsic ability to respond to skilled, intentional touch, a principle understood intuitively thousands of years ago. Moreover, the psychological benefits of touch remain central to its enduring value. Ancient cultures recognized that human contact, when applied with skill and care, fosters relaxation, diminishes stress, and promotes emotional balance. Modern therapies such as massage, shiatsu, and myofascial release continue this tradition, showing measurable improvements in mood, anxiety, and overall well-being. In essence, Ancient healers intuitively discovered the mind-body connection, a concept now widely explored in contemporary health sciences. A legacy of ancient practices is also evident in the preventive focus of traditional therapies. Daily massages, carefully tailored strokes, and ritualized routines were not just for the sick. They were methods to maintain vitality, flexibility, and resilience. Infants, children, and the elderly all benefited from tactile stimulation that supported development, circulation, and joint health. Today, preventive care in the form of physiotherapy, yoga, and wellness massage continues this tradition, showing that the principles of longevity and holistic health were deeply embedded in ancient routines. Another fascinating aspect is how cultural diversity enriched the techniques of manual therapy. Each civilization contributed unique methods. The Chinese meridians, Indian oil massage, Egyptian aromatic therapies, and Greek athletic manipulations all offered distinct insights into anatomy, energy flow, and sensory stimulation. By comparing these systems, modern practitioners can see how different approaches complement each other, creating a more comprehensive understanding of touch therapy. The synthesis of these traditions reveals a timeless truth. Human ingenuity, observation, and empathy can produce healing methods that transcend culture and era. Even in an age dominated by technology, the simplicity and intimacy of touch retain their power. While imaging machines, pharmaceuticals, and surgical interventions are essential, the human hand remains irreplaceable. Ancient healers knew that healing requires connection, not just to the body, but to the person. This understanding underlines the importance of presence, intention, and skill in therapeutic practice, reminding us that science and empathy can coexist, each enhancing the other. Ultimately, the journey through the history of touch-based healing is a testament to human resilience, curiosity, and creativity. The ancients relied on observation, experimentation, and a profound sensitivity to the human body to develop techniques that are still relevant today. From relieving muscle pain to fostering mental clarity and emotional balance, their insights continue to resonate in modern wellness practices, illustrating the enduring power of human touch. In reflecting on this history, one cannot help but marvel at the ingenuity and depth of early healers. Their hands, guided by observation, intuition, and care, created remedies that transcended the physical to touch the emotional and spiritual realms. This legacy is a reminder that sometimes the simplest tools, a hand, an oil, a gentle stroke, can carry the most profound healing potential. The ancient world's understanding of touch and manual therapy reveals a timeless truth. Healing is as much an art as a science, and the power of human touch remains one of the most profound tools for restoring balance and harmony within ourselves. By honoring and learning from these practices, we reconnect with a wisdom that has nurtured bodies and spirits for millennia.